Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of the Susan Powell case. If you have not seen the first video, I'll link it below. Go back and watch it or you're going to be very confused. So there's this podcast called Cold. I think it's a KSL News Radio podcast, and they actually obtained the wiretap records, which were focused on Josh's cell phone, Stephen's cell phone, and the landline that they had at the house that they shared. While no major or damning evidence came from this, they did find a lot of minor things that are worth mentioning. First, it's how they even found out that Josh rented a car, which we talked about earlier. In a call on August 22nd, 2011, Josh speculated that they might have served a search warrant on the car and also found evidence on his computer of searches relating to Topaz Mountain. Police, of course, quickly put together a massive search of the area around Topaz Mountain, which is in Utah's West Desert, but that failed to show any significant evidence. I would really like to point out that the wiretap records didn't show a single instance of the Powell family showing any remorse or sympathy for Susan. In fact, on one call on August 28th, 2011, Michael Powell said that he did not give a flying fuck about Susan. In another call, Alina Powell, who's Josh's sister, was talking badly about Susan and told her dad that he should have let that bitch go because she wasn't worth it. Stephen, of course, responded by praising parts of Susan's body, which is like just the kind of creepy bullshit that he would do. Many of these conversations happened in front of Susan's children, who were only 6 and 4 at the time. The wiretap also captured instances of Josh teaching his kids how to swear, and he repeatedly told them that their maternal grandparents, Susan's parents, were lying predators, and he directly stated that her dad, Chuck, was abusive. The entire Powell family seemed very paranoid. They would talk about things like Chuck coordinating campaigns of harassment that would be carried out by the LDS Church. They believed that detectives, FBI, judges, and other authority figures were all receiving marching orders from the LDS Church. Josh once talked about seeing fluid dripping from his minivan. He was so paranoid that he thought somebody had messed with his brakes, so he took his car in to be serviced, and they ended up telling him that the fluid was just condensation from the AC. Josh talked about how he would refuse to go to prison where he wouldn't be able to kill himself, and one of the only reasons that he hadn't was because if he passed away, he didn't want his estranged sister, Jennifer Graves, getting custody of his children because she would raise them in the church. Which leads us to the most heartbreaking part of this case. Josh ended up losing custody of his kids when his dad was arrested in 2011, partially because of Stephen and all the child porn and whatnot that they found, but they were also worried that Josh was participating in this stuff with his dad. Josh admitted to taking photos of women's legs when they weren't paying attention. They also found a noose inside the home, which the Powells tried to say was a workout handle. And on one occasion, they said that Michael Powell had answered the door completely naked. So they just decided that this was an unfit home for children. They gave custody to Susan's parents, Chuck and Judy Cox. Josh got 3-hour supervised visits every Sunday while the grandparents went to church because he refused to have his kids attend with them. One Sunday, the social worker that was there to supervise the visit pulls up with the boys, but they got out of the car so excited to see their dad, of course, so they go running up. They run ahead of the social worker. Josh lets them in. As soon as the second one passes through the door, he looks directly in the social worker's eyes and then slams the door shut and locks her out. She tried banging on the door and getting in the house, and then she smelled gasoline, so she immediately called the police. You guys, this is the most fucking frustrating part of this case for me. I cannot believe this 911 phone call. It is such bullshit. I don't even know what to say about it. I know there's a lot of calls where there's just the most unhelpful operators on the other end, but this one just really takes the cake for me. I'll play it for you guys, but it's like this guy just stopped speaking English. Like, he could not comprehend what the social worker was saying. He just like wasted so much time asking her questions that they could have asked after the situation was handled. Like, it was not important. And then in the call, he goes on to say that police won't be there right away because they need to handle life-threatening emergencies first.
Hey, I'm on a supervised visitation for a court-ordered visit, and something really weird has happened. The kids went into the house, and the parent, the biological parent, whose name is Josh Powell, will not let me in the door. What should I do?
What's the address?
It's 8119, and I think it's 89th. I don't know what the address is.
Okay, that's pretty important for me to know.
Just a minute. Let me get in my car and see if I can find it. Nothing like this has ever happened before at these visitations, so I'm really shocked. And I could hear one of the kids crying, but he still wouldn't let me in. You can't find me by GPS?
No.
I think I need help right away. He's on a very short lease with CSHS, and CPS has been involved. And this is the craziest thing. He looked right at me and closed the door. Are you there?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just waiting to know where you are.
Okay. It's 8119 189th Street, Court East, Puyallup, 98375. And I'd like to pull out of the driveway because I smell gasoline and he won't let me in.
You want to pull out of the driveway because you smell gasoline, but he won't let you...
He won't let me in.
He won't let you out of the driveway?
He won't let me in the house.
Whose house is
The
it?
kids in the house and he won't let me in. It's a supervised visit.
I understand. Whose house is it?
Josh Powell.
Okay, so you don't live there, right?
No, I don't. No, I'm contracted to the state to provide supervised visitation.
I see. Okay. And who is there to exercise their visitation?
I am. And the visit is with Josh Powell.
And who
And
supervises?
he is the husband that I supervise.
So you supervise and you're doing the visit?
Yeah,
You're
I
supervising yourself?
I supervise myself. I'm the supervisor here.
Wait a minute. If it's a supervised visit, you can't supervise yourself. If you're the
I
visitor...
do supervise myself. I'm the supervisor for the supervised visit.
Okay, well, aren't you the one making the visit? Or is there another
I'm
parent
the one-
that you're supervising?
No, I'm the one that supervises. I pick up the kids as their grandparent.
Yes. And then who visits with the children?
Josh Powell.
Okay, so you're supposed to be there to supervise Josh Powell's visit with the children.
Yes, that's correct. This is a high-profile case.
How did he gain access to the children before you got there?
I was one step in back of them.
Okay, so they went into the house and then he locked you out.
Yeah, he shut the door right in my face.
All right, now it's clear. Your last name?
My name is Elizabeth Griffin Hall.
Griffin Hall is hyphenated?
Yes.
And what agency are you with?
Foster Care Resource Network.
And the dad's last name?
Powell, P-O-W-E-L.
White, Asian, Hispanic, Native?
He's white.
Date of birth? Did you notice what he was wearing? What color
I
is
begged him to let me in.
Elizabeth, please listen to my questions. What color is the Toyota Prius?
Gray, dark gray.
And the license number?
750ZMH.
Zebra Mary Henry?
Yes.
All right, we'll have somebody look for you there.
Okay, how long will it be?
I don't know, ma'am. They have to respond to emergency, life-threatening situations first. The first available deputy
Well,
is responding.
this could be life-threatening. He went to court on Wednesday, and he didn't get his kids back. And this is really, I'm afraid for their lives.
Okay, has he threatened the lives of the children previously?
I have no idea.
All right, we'll have the first available deputy contact you.
Unfortunately, it took police over 20 minutes to get to the house, and by then the whole thing had gone up in flames, and it killed everybody inside.
And were you calling about the fire in the 8200 block over
Yes,
on
he
88th Street,
exploded
Courtney?
the house.
Ma'am,
Yes,
do you know
he
the
exploded the house.
okay? Do you know the exact address of the house, or are you
Yes,
supposed?
it's 8119 189th Street, Court East,
Okay,
2 hours.
okay, stand line. Do you know if anyone's in the house?
Yes, there was a man and 2 children. I just dropped off the children. children, and he wouldn't let me in the door.
Okay, stay in line for the fire department. Okay, I'm going to get them on the line. Do not hang up. Hold on.
And people are saying there's not somebody here, but I was just there, and there is somebody here. There's two little boys in the house, and they're 5 and 7, and there's an adult man. He has supervised visitation, and he blew up the house and the kids. The kids and the husband and the father were in the house? Yeah, yes, he slammed the door in my face. So I kept knocking. I thought it was a mistake. I kept knocking, and then I called 911. You saw him go back into the house when the flame, right before the flames? He didn't ever leave the house. He just opened the door. The kids were one step ahead of me. They're 5 and 7. They were one step ahead of me, and he slammed the door in my face.
I can't imagine the kind of pain that could have been prevented had he taken this phone call seriously. And I know he's come out since then apologizing for the call, saying that he feels he handled it clumsily. At the end of the day, the proper steps weren't taken, and now 2 children are dead because of it. It's a really shitty situation because in hindsight, he says he didn't understand the kind of person that they were dealing with, like the kind of person that Josh was. He didn't grasp that it was a life-threatening emergency until it was too late. The autopsy and investigation results were shocking. They found that not only did Josh use 10 gallons of gasoline to start the fire, but there were accelerants throughout the entire house. They found that the children's toys had already been given away, and he had sent emails out to multiple people moments before his death. He sent 36 emails that ranged from "I'm sorry, goodbye," whereas others dictated what he wanted people to do with his money, utilities, and certain aspects of his life. And not a single one of those emails mentioned anything about Susan. This is the horrible part, a little bit gory, so a warning. The boy's cause of death was listed as carbon monoxide poisoning with chopping injuries as a secondary cause. The manner was listed homicide. It was revealed that they were struck with a hatchet. 7-year-old Charlie had the injury on his neck, whereas 5-year-old Braden had injuries on his head and his neck. Chuck said that he does not blame the state for what happened, saying that the caseworkers performed within the structure of the law, but he said that he did not like that Josh was allowed visitation in his own home and with only one supervisor. As far as their deaths go, Chuck said, quote, "They were his property and he wanted them back. They were his, and that's all it was. He was never really interested in them." He also talked about a picture that Braden drew when he was 2 years old in a preschool summer camp. In this picture, it showed him, his brother, and his dad all going on a camping trip. When counselors asked him where his mom was, he said, "In the trunk," and when they asked why, he said that he didn't know. After this, West Valley City Police said that they believed that Josh killed his wife and that his brother Michael Powell helped them dispose of the body. Michael ended up killing himself about a year after Josh did. After serving time, Stephen Powell was released, I believe it was in 2017, and he ended up dying in the hospital in 2018 because of heart complications. And a lot of people think that a lot of these secrets and this information is going to die with him. Susan's parents say that they're not going to feel like they've gotten closure until they are able to find her body and give her a proper burial. Susan was officially and legally declared dead on November 14th, 2019. The last and most recent update on this case happened in late 2020. Due to the situation with their grandkids, Chuck and Judy ended up suing the state of Washington for negligence. The lawsuit was thrown out in 2015, but it was revived in 2019 by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. The lawsuit alleges that DSHS ignored comments made by Charlie and Braden Powell that seemed to reference their mother's disappearance. In 2011, the Cox family alleges West Valley City Police asked the agency to check in on the children out of concern for their safety, and the agency refused. The Cox family also claims DSHS did not provide adequate training for those who had to supervise visits between Josh Powell and his children. The agency also approved moving visits from a neutral site to Josh Powell's home without informing law enforcement or the judge overseeing the case. The jury verdicts came back. They ruled in favor of Chuck and Judy that the state of Washington was negligent on the death of Charlie and Braden. They awarded the Cox family $98.5 million. I completely forgot to throw in, I said I had a sort of personal connection. I don't know if these people ever like went to the police, but my parents have family friends. They hung out with Josh and Susan before the disappearance. They told my parents that Josh had bragged about the fact that if he ever committed murder, he knew exactly where to hide the body where they'd never find it. So I was not present for the conversation. This is just what I was told years later, and I thought that was fucking creepy and weird. You guys, I cannot believe how this case went down. So frustrated by this case. I spent so long researching it, and there's probably still pieces that I missed because there's just so much going on. I hope Chuck and Judy are able to find closure. I can't even imagine how heartbreaking it is to have lost the grandkids after losing your own child. Like, they wanted to give them a chance at a good, normal life. I think I saw something where Chuck was doing an interview and got really emotional because the grandkids' rooms had still been set up, and he said that he was going to have to take everything down because it was too painful to have that stuff in the house. And that just like broke my soul a little bit. There you have it. Anybody who covers this case, the police, her family, everybody's on the same page as to what happened in this case. It's just a matter of finding her body at this point. I'm just gonna leave it at that before I run my mouth about something and get in trouble, because I have a really hard time with this case. All I have to say is that I hope the best for Chuck and Judy. I hope they're able to do something with the money they've been given, and I hope they get the closure they're looking for, because I cannot imagine losing that many of my people in such a short period of time, especially 2 children. It's just like so heartbreaking and disgusting. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.